The Blue Lancer, bro, that shit was crazy. It blew my mind, man. Here. Let me check the volume up.
For sure, for sure.
All right, all right, all right. I'm pretty sure you guys already know him. If you don't, then you're missing out. Make sure to follow him right here, guys. We're gonna have the striker guy right now with Miso.
Everybody's favorite class.
Yeesh.
But how's it going? Hopefully everybody's doing well. Hello, Mr. 4K's chat and everybody.
What up? What up? We got it hyped up. I already see something that I don't have. Interesting. But I'm pretty sure it changes, yeah. On skill.
Are you talking about my build right now compared to yours?
Yeah. Because it's a two spender, right?
Oh,
Now it changes.
yeah, it changed. It changed.
I cannot
It is.
wait, bro. I cannot wait to
Yeah, it's
see.
so much better. It's so much better to play compared to before 1680.
Yeah, man.
If you want, I'm happy to talk about pre 1680 and also post 1680. If you whatever you want.
Yeah, if you want, we can
No, it's
go.
whatever you want.
We can go over
Whatever you want.
the topics, and then at the end, if people got questions, stuff like that, and you wanna go give an input, and then before and
Yeah,
after.
Sure. Either way.
El Frelula, ¿qué pasa, papi? All right. I mean, I have it right. Oh, you have the topic right? I sent it to you.
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to do. I don't know if you want to just like introduce or I don't know if you want me to just go over everything or
Yeah,
if you want to like ask like here what is this,
yeah.
what's that.
You pretty much just what I'm saying, like it's like a PowerPoint type thing. You just go the evolution points. It will be this and the alignment points, and just based on the topics.
Yeah, for sure. So for Striker, I would say for the evolution points, it's pretty simple. Honestly, there's kind of two builds going around. And this is for 1680 Striker, so this is like all the evolution points in already. But it can change depending on how many evolution points, and there are kind of like different places where you can swap into Arc Master or not. But right now, this is what I'm rocking. Right, I'm doing 30 in a spec, 10 in crit. I'm doing 3 in limit break, 2 into strike, and 2 into standing striker. This is basically what most of the Korean players are running right now. And I would say that it's definitely the most consistent build, in my opinion. Now, if you look on Lost Ark Nexus, they also have another build, which they will tell you that you can go 2 into Keen Sense, 1 into Limit Break, 2 into Strike, and then this would be the Blunt Thorn build.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, with this build, I personally don't run it because Blunt Thorn, like it to me, Blunt Thorn feels really bad on classes that have like one big hit. So, our biggest damage dealers are our T skill and our Tiger Strike, which are both one big flat number. So, if you get Blunt Thorned on one of them, you just feel really bad. So, personally, I don't run this build. I think it might be a little bit higher ceiling, but there's a lot more requirements to it as well. Um, in terms of what we want for our elixir set for this completely changes our elixirs. Anybody who's running Blunt Thorn needs to go master set, whereas Striker is usually on critical set. So if you didn't have a master set before, you would need to cut a new one. And then even then, you would need a crit sin, and you'd probably need legendary relic,
Too
and
much.
also need crit rings to really make this work. So
Dang.
it's really not very reasonable to run for the most part. But if you have all the stars aligning, you could run this build and it could be definitely an increase in DPS. But for me, I don't quite have that right now, so I just run the standard build, which is this one.
Just to be more
Now,
safe.
yeah, exactly. And also like you can use this with any comp, any build, like any boss, any comp, any build. Like you don't have to have a crit sin, you don't have to have certain requirements. You just go in there, get your crit set, throw it on there, and just go and forget. You don't have to think about it. So that's kind of like the reason why I run it. And I think, it's the reason why it's the most popular build in Korea it's very, the blunt thorn build is just more inconsistent and it requires a lot of things to make work. But that's the evolution points for 1680, and this is for full set. If you have less than full set, you're gonna kind of progress like this, right? So this is kind of, if you can get this setup right here, this is probably when I'd say maybe you can think about swapping if you're 1580, because it does completely change the playstyle when you're 1580 and you get your full, Enlightenment
Right.
tree up. But you're still going to be losing some damage when you do this. The best place to swap would be when you're able to get 2 into this and then 2 into this. That would be the ideal place. So I think this is at 3 piece. But even before then, you could potentially swap, just because some people prefer to play the new one. The new playstyle is
Right,
a
right.
lot better. It's a lot better, a lot more comfortable, a lot easier. And some people are just like, I'm willing to take the DPS drop just to make it a little bit more fun. So yeah, that's kind of the Enlightenment tree. It's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. And of course, you can always change things based off of crit sins and things like that. Like maybe you might have like a double crit sin in your party or something, so you can afford to maybe drop some crit, add a little more swift for comfort. But honestly, this will just take you through pretty much everything.
Ideal, yeah.
And yeah, that's the Enlightenment tree, or sorry, the evolution tree. Now for the Enlightenment tree, I don't have full relic accessories. But if you did have full relic accessories, what you want to do is just go all the way down, take 2 into Orb's Blessing, and then all your extra points go into fully charged. But for me, I don't currently have that set up right now. So I just have 1 into Orb's Blessing and 3 into fully charged. Eventually, I'll get the full relics, or sorry, not full ancients. Eventually, I'll get the full ancients, and then I will get the other setup. But right now, with not full ancients, I'm just going this build right now, which works for me. It's still a DPS increase. You could do this with 2 pieces as well. And again, you just go straight down, get 1 point of this, and everything left over you is put into fully charged. And that's kind of going to be what you're going to be doing for the most part.
That's the most important one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, as much into this one, and then everything left over is going to go into this one. So, not very difficult. If you're not 1680, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get that, and you're just going to be rocking this, and then every extra point will go into this. But this is going to be the 1680 build. It's, again, this is what enables your ability to go 2-spender. So the moment you can get this, that's when you can swap over to 2-spender and get that new play style. It's kind of unfortunate that Striker is the only class with a negative damage on their engraving. Like, granted, we do get a lot more damage from being able to cycle SO skills much more efficiently, but at the same time, the class isn't that strong to where it needs to get a ton of damage, negative damage from the engraving. So over time, we've gotten buffed, and it's nice. Like, eventually we'll get minus 10% at level 3 whenever Abel gets level 3. But for now, we're going to have to deal with this minus 13%.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. It is what it is. So that, at the end of the day, is the Enlightenment tree. Leap tree. Now, this one, I would say there's a little bit of preference that goes into this. For me, this is the tree that I run right now. I run 2 into Transcendent Power, 5 into Unleash Power, 2 into Release Potential, and 2 into Instant Spell. Now, some people prefer to run something like or akin to this, where they get everything into their Transcendent Power and they don't worry about Instant Spell. For me, I would rather put 2 into Instant Spell for this reason, right? So what these different things do is this gives you damage to your Hyper Awakening skill. This one gives you damage to your T skill. This one gives you cooldown for your T skill, and then this one gives you casting speed for your T skill, and of course mana cost reduction, which isn't important. You never run out of mana as Striker. But this is required to be at 2. If you don't have this at 2, you're not going to be able to cycle your skill rotation.
Interesting. That's big, so
you
right here.
need this at 2. You need this at 2. Now, this is optional. Like I said, some people run none into that and put 3 points into this. Other people run 2, which is, for me, what I run. Now, my thinking is this way. So your T skill is your biggest damage dealer, right?
Interesting.
But it is a charge skill. So because of that, I would rather have a little bit like a shorter charge time in order to make sure I'm hitting that more consistently. Now, granted, 8% isn't like a ton, but at the same time, sometimes, and you people who play entropy will know this, sometimes it's literally like half an inch or half a centimeter off from getting that back attack.
Yeah.
If you're able to charge it up just that little bit faster, then that back attack would have hit versus not. So I would rather go with a more consistent approach and get this to be 2 and then leave this at 2 instead of 3. And also, like, if you think about it this way, this is your T skill at the end of the day, again, is going to be your biggest damage dealer. And
Interesting.
your hyper awakening is a one-time use. And sometimes you
Right.
might even whiff it and miss it, or
Yeah.
even you might not even remember to use it.
Right.
So I would rather go with the skill that does more damage and land it more consistently than put more points into my hyper awakening, which might not even work out at the end. And then obviously, again, the reason why you would put this at 5 is because your T skill is your highest damage dealer. So this is why you would want this at 5. So
Oh,
minimum
interesting.
requirements before anything, get 2 into this, right? And then 5 into this. And then after that, you can choose to go all into Transcendent Power, or you can put 2 into Instant Spell and then put the rest into there. Now, when we get our Brel bracelet, we're going to be adding stuff into this, the Efficient Strike. It, again, gives us a little bit less damage, but then it gives us, well, it's still, the damage works out at the end because you get -1 orb required, which Deathblow gives you more orb, like damage per orb you have, right? So it still basically cancels out, but you gain push immunity. So everybody's using this one because charge skill, not having push immunity is a little bit tough. So everybody's using Efficient Strike.
Well, that give you actually push immunity when you casting the.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Damn,
this
that's
gives
a
you push
big, huh?
immunity when you cast T. Yeah.
That's gonna be huge as hell, bro.
Yeah. So that's what everybody's going into right now when they have their Brel bracelet in Korea.
It's huge.
Yeah. And that about is it for kind of your arc passive. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory. The only kind of like optional stuff is really the leap tree in terms of like things that you gotta have to decide what you want to take.
I will kind of play like that, low key. I'm not gonna lie. Like I like the idea, like the reason behind it. You know what I'm saying? It's like kind of more comfortable, you know.
It's more comfortable, more consistent, and that's kind of the type of player that I am. I'm not really. I've never been like the super min max player, but at the same time, this is basically. I'm not running anything unique. This is basically what everybody in Korea is running.
Copy paste. That's it. Keep it moving. Simple.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. So those are the trees. Now, next are skills and tripods. So the skills and tripods and runes are pretty like standard as well. There's not too much variance. So you run Sky Shattering Blow, right? Which will have 1 in Excellent Mobility. So you go 1, 3, 2. And you definitely need your abundant resources to be as high as possible. Gives you more meter.
Yeah.
And then Moonflash Kick, you run this at 3, 1, 2. This is going to be a big generator of yours. Vicious Tiger Dance, going to run 2, 1, 1. Sweeping Kick is going to be 1, 1, 1. Now, some people choose to run 2, 1, 1 because this gives you more damage. But personally, having the attack speed, and also cooldown makes your rotations a lot simpler, a lot better, and it just feels a lot better. For the most part, I'd say the majority of people run this because at the end of the day, the amount of damage that your Sweeping Kick does is very negligible. The only skills that really do any damage are your Tiger Strike, your Tiger Emerges, and your T skill. So these are just generators at the end of the day. Some damage because you do end up running a damage gem on Sweeping Kick, but not that much damage. So I run 1, 1, 1. Tiger Strike, you run 2, 1, 1. Lightning Whisper, 3, 1, 1 is what I run, but some people choose to run 3, 3, 1. Now, the difference here is that So the first tripod gives everybody attack speed. So as you can see here, attack speed for all party members plus 8 within 24 meters for 8 seconds, right? I personally think that's a very good buff,
Yeah.
and very helpful to the party. This one, however, is a much more personal buff. This
Oh.
is the duration of Lightning Whisper, and that is the crit synergy that you're giving yourself. So the crit
Right.
buff that you're giving yourself. And basically, how this works is that you have about a 1 second downtime on the crit buff that you get for yourself, off of
Ah.
using your Lightning Whisper. So this synergy, as you can see in the skill description, it says crit rate 10% for 12 seconds, right?
Right.
Which is not the same as the first tripod weakness exposure. It gives it for 16 seconds. So that one, you will have 100% uptime on the boss. So the boss
Wow.
crit synergy, the crit reduction on the boss, that is 100% uptime regardless. But
Yeah.
your Lightning Whisper, the crit rate for yourself, has about a 1 second downtime when you use it versus when it comes off a cooldown. So that's why some people in Korea run this one, the Lightning Whisper duration, because you basically have 100% uptime, more than 100% uptime on your Lightning Whisper when you do this. But if you use this one, it's like a
Benefit everybody
slight,
else.
yeah, this one will benefit everybody, but you have like a little tiny window where you don't have the crit synergy. But to be honest, I have barely ever run into a situation where the little downtime really mattered too much.
Mm.
So if it's like a half a second, I usually just, if anything, like if I know like, oh, there's about a half a second left before the crit synergy goes down for myself, like the crit buff for myself, I just wait the half second and then just use it. So that's kind of why I do this. Again, you can play whichever one you want.
Based on preference.
Yeah, I'd say this is probably the more popular build in Korea, but again, I personally just run this one. But people run both of them. And then for Storm Dragon Kick, personally, I run 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 2 on this one. A lot of people will end up going something like this, 4 points into this, and just put into excellent mobility, and then they'll spend their points elsewhere, like perhaps giving their vicious
More
tiger dance up to
damage.
14 or something like that for more damage.
Ah.
Personally, it's all preference, because honestly, your Storm Dragon Kick pretty much gives you no damage. So this is probably this, I'd say, the standard build. And also, if you take one of these third tripods, it changes the animation a little bit, so that's kind of can be a little bit annoying. So it's just preference at the end of the day, what you want to do.
And then you have it
You
like,
re-
okay, okay.
you really just use this for generating adrenaline stacks and a little bit of mobility.
Mm.
And then lastly, Tiger emerges. You go 3, 2, 2. You can also go 3, 2, 1 for higher ceiling,
Interesting.
because this is the higher damage tripod. But it's kind of up to you at the end of the day. I personally just use this one because I like the tiger animation, because this gets rid of the tiger animation. So
Oh
I just use
shit.
this one right now. Uh,
Oh shit. I know. I
yeah.
never. I don't think I ever seen it. The difference between one and another.
Yeah, so I mean, it just looks like this, right? So the second tripod is the typical one where you kind of expect, where you get the little tiger,
Right.
right? You
Right.
get the big
Right.
tiger animation. But
Yeah.
then the first tripod is, whoops, the first tripod is just the jumping one. It's the one that people use with their SO build. So you see, there's no
Ah.
more tiger.
Wow.
It's just very much, you just do a little jumping Shoryuken
Interesting.
type of situation. So
I use the other one too. Yeah, that one.
yeah, this one's the, in my opinion, just the one I use because it looks cooler. Oh, sorry, not this one, but the other one, the one with the tiger. I just
Yeah.
use that one because it looks cooler. But maybe that's, most people, a lot of people might want to go to the higher ceiling build. So there's that.
Wow, that's good to
It's also got a
know.
big AoE. It's easier to land, so,
¿Sabes? Se parece a
and
la-
it's more backloaded. There's less hits on it, so you don't have to hit every single hit.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm. So that's the skills and tripods for runes. This is pretty much like what most people use. You can kind of swap around the wealth runes a little bit depending on like spec and things like that. But for the most part, like these days, there's not much spec variance between classes, because all your spec is off of like your Arc passive anyways. So this is what I run. I run Wealth on Sky Shattering Blow. For legendary wealth, I run blue wealth on my Moonflash Kick, purple wealth on Vicious Tiger Dance, purple wealth on Sweeping Kick. I run a legendary Gale Wind on Tiger Strike because you want to charge it out faster. Blue wealth on Lightning Whisper. I run quick recharge on Storm Dragon Kick. This is kind of your flex rune where you can run kind of different things. If you want to run bleed, if you want to run, if you want to run like
Purify,
poison rune, if you want to run purify, rage, you can run whatever. But for the most part, quick recharge is probably going to be your most efficient, best one. Lowers your cooldowns. And then for this one, you can run Overwhelm, you can run Gale Wind, and you can run Vision, which Vision is a combination of Overwhelm and Gale Wind. So I just run this one instead. Yeah. That's sadly, there's not really much you can do with your runes because you run basically every single wealth rune. You don't have to have both purple wealth runes, to be honest. You can rock, another extra. I don't know if it's an extra blue rune or an extra green rune. I think might be a third blue wealth. I don't remember. But you don't have to run all purple wealths. If you were gonna run one extra one, you could. One less one, you could probably just take it off of like Vicious Tiger Dance is what I would expect. Yeah, let me see if you could take this off.
With so many like builders, I'm pretty sure it's not really mandatory, right?
Yeah.
But before it was kind of tight.
It was, and right now it's a lot more flexible, right? Because because the thing is, before you would have to run this combo to get your meter, right? That combo is no longer necessary. So as you can see right there, that was kind of the biggest limiter normally. And even with the blue wealth, that still works now. So you don't have to run the second purple wealth if you don't have it. It's kind of flexible. But I have that second purple wealth, so I am running it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let me see here. So that is what I have for the runes. Now, for the gems, unfortunately, tier 4 is being the trick scene is being really annoying and not putting all my gems in. But gems are actually a very funny situation for Striker because you don't actually need a lot of your gems. And let me exit trick scene real quick so I can get the gems reset.
Yeah, this is very important because especially for rotations.
Yeah, so gems are actually surprisingly not that important for Striker. I've gone an entire raid without having like all my gems one time, and it barely felt different. So this is, well, I don't have all my gems on my character right now, but what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to basically have your Tiger Strike is going to be your main damage source, right? So you're going to want that. You're also going to want to have your Tiger Emerges, which is not more than 25% of your damage. So you're going to be using the tier 4 version of this. So you're going to have that in there, right? And then the other one you're going to have in terms of damage gems, there's really not that much requirement. So that's basically, these 2 damage gems are kind of your 2 damage gems that you really need.
Interesting.
People will also run this one. But honestly, like I said earlier, this doesn't even make that much of a difference in terms of your rotation. So people, like in terms of like your overall damage pie, so you don't even have to run this if you really didn't want to. But where it really comes down to is the cooldowns, right? So you're going to want to run a cooldown for Sky Shattering Blow. You're going to run a cooldown for Moonflash. You're going to run a cooldown for Sweeping Kick. You'll want to run a cooldown for Lightning Whisper, and then Storm Dragon Kick, and then Vicious Tiger Dance. So there's a lot of cooldown gems in this build, and those are really the big requirements. Just running your cooldown gems for all your generators, and then for damage gems, it's really this one and this one. So Tiger Strike and your Tiger Emerges, and then the last one can be Sweeping Kick if you really wanted to, but honestly, it's not even that big of a requirement. Now, one thing you'll notice is we have two free gems.
Right.
Because we don't, again, our generators just don't do that much damage. So if you really want to be min-maxy, you can go this and this.
Oh,
Damage for
wow.
Moonflash Kick, damage for Vicious Tiger Dance, but that's not going to give you that much. So a lot of old striker players, right? They used to be on 3-spender. So and they run
Right.
cooldown gems for everything, right?
Right.
So these days what I do is I just stick in my old gems. I stick in like blast formation damage, and then I'll
Oh,
like
just for
stick
the
in like
AP, just for the
yeah,
top
and I'll stick
power.
in like like a cooldown gem, another cooldown gem, like another blast formation cooldown gem, or like a tiger strike cooldown gem, or like because you don't need cooldown gems for your big damage deals anymore because they just get
Oh,
reset.
yeah,
So
yeah.
those cooldown slots are gone. So you basically have 2 gems that are floating that you could use on whatever. Again, if you wanted to super min max, right? You can go and take these off and go Moonflash Kick and like Vicious Tiger Dance.
Right,
But
right,
like
right.
again, these do like Z DPS. They don't do any damage. So it's really unnecessary. You just stick in whatever.
No, that's good to
So if you
know.
see a lot of the striker players in Korea, if you ever go on their Loas, they just have like the old. Literally have blast formation gems, and they don't use blast formation.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Shadow Hunter
So
transformation and stuff. They use it just for the
kind
attack
of,
power.
kind of. And I have a super El Cheapo roster too. I literally run Shadow Hunter and Scouter. So these 3 characters just share gems. So
Yeah.
it's pretty nice. But
That's
yeah, gems are really not that big of a deal for Striker. Of course, again, these 2 gems,
the
your
ones.
Tiger Strike is going to be your main damage skill
That's the
other than
only
your T
one.
skill.
That's the only one that
Mhm.
actually goes on stay tier 3.
Yeah, this is the only one that stays tier 3, and then you can do Tiger Emerges as tier 4.
Okay, okay.
Yep. And of course, once you get this to level 9, tier 4, you swap over.
Right.
So those are the gems. Engravings wise, there's a little bit of flexibility from what I've seen, but right now I'm running Cursed Doll, Adrenaline, Ambush Master, Grudge, and Supercharge. So the old Striker, you would not take Supercharge. This would be
Mm.
Keen Blunt. Now, most people have swapped off of Keen Blunt and taken Supercharge. Keen Blunt is probably still going to be higher ceiling because Supercharge doesn't affect your Tiger Emerges at all. But again, your
Mm.
main damage skills are your Tiger Strike and your T skill.
Makes sense.
T skill does like 40% of your damage according to Lost Ark Nexus. Tiger Strike is, I think, is like 27, and then this is like 20%. So it still does damage, but the T skill just does so much more damage that you want to do everything to make sure your T skill lands.
Right.
So Supercharge will buff the attack and also help you land it easier with a better charge time. Some people also choose to, instead of getting rid of Keen Blunt, they get rid of Ambush Master. Personally, I don't think that's as good, and most people don't go that. But I haven't really done the testing too much to see which one's better and how much better this build is. But for the most part, if you look in Korea, 90% of the Deathblow Striker is going to be using Supercharge instead of Keen Blunt.
That's pretty interesting.
So that is what we do for our engravings. And then for the Awakening and Hyper, like honestly, for the most part, it's kind of flexible. You could really use either one that you want. You
Yeah.
can still use the old Hyper Awakening if you want, or use the old Awakening, which was this one.
Right.
We used to always use this one
Yeah.
because it was just faster and it has range, so you can kind of do it from like a range whenever you don't have an auto attack. And then you have the Hyper right here, right? Which is it's all right. It's whatever. It's just preference. The reason why we use this one, or I use this one, and most strikers use this one, is just because this is sick.
Oh, yeah,
It's just so much cooler.
Damn.
It does a slightly more damage to you, I guess, but the other one's just more flexible and like you can use it from range, right? So, and then the Awakening Seal kind of is weird because if you don't hit the first hit, it doesn't finish the entire thing. So that finishes the entire combo, but if you hit it this way and miss it, it just doesn't hit. So
Oh, yeah, you have to actually hit the first.
yeah, you actually have to hit it. So this Awakening itself is just not as good. It does more damage, it's higher ceiling, but in terms of flexibility, it's not as flexible. But again, the Hyper Awakening skill itself just does a little bit more damage for this one. And again, it's way cooler. So that's why most people just use that one.
Sheesh.
Yeah. So that's it for like kind of like the basics. In terms of rotation, it's pretty simple, right? You're gonna want to charge
That's the
up
most
your
important.
adrenaline stacks. Yep. And then usually I start off with Sky Shattering Blow, Lightning Whisper. That way we stack both attack speed buffs, right? We get the attack speed buff from Sky Shattering Blow. We get the attack speed buff from Lightning Whisper. And then our Tiger Strike will come out way faster, right? I'm gonna put on Spirit Absorption just to, for urinating, right? But Sky Shattering Blow. Actually, let's redo our rotation, actually, because there's one thing I need to explain. So with Striker Arc passive, right? As you can see, I've been accumulating these bubbles as I've been using my SO skills. And that's what our Arc passive does. Every time we use an SO skill, it gives us this bubble, right? So it gives us 4 stacks of these Orbs Blessing. And then when we get up to 16 stacks, or when these bubbles on the side of us, there's 4 of them, it will make our next SO skill do more damage. And that, ideally, you'll want to use on your T skill and enhance this, because this is our strongest skill.
Diablo.
So that's kind of like the goal of this build. Build up your 4 bubbles, and then use your T skill when those 4 bubbles are up. And then with the Arc passive, every time we use an SO skill, as you can see here, this is 20-something cooldown, right? If we use another SO skill, Tiger emerges,
Jesus
it completely resets it, right?
Damn.
So then you can go back and just keep cycling it and cycle back and forth between your SO skills. And then finally, you can let out your last T skill like that. Now, that doesn't reset the T skill when we use our SO skills, but it subtracts the cooldown. As you can see, every time we use an SO skill, it brings the cooldown down by a lot, by 20 seconds. So because you have your leaps skill, like I said earlier, the leap tree set up in this way where you have 2 here, by the time you use your 4th SO skill and build up all the bubbles,
it lined up with the T skill. That's huge,
so
bro.
then your T skill comes in and you use it. So rotation's pretty simple. Honestly, there's not really any big requirements. You just kind of have to remember these kind of basic rule. Your Sky Shattering Blow and your Vicious Tiger Dance and your Storm Dragon Kick are small generators. Your Moonflash Kick, your Sweeping Kick, and your Lightning Whisper are big generators. Of course, you always want to keep Lightning Whisper up, right? So you always want to use this first. But basically, you need to use a small generator and a big generator to get 4 bubbles. It doesn't matter which small generator you use or which big generator. You just need to use 1 small generator, 1 big generator. So for example, I could use Sky Shattering Blow into Sweeping Kick. That'll fill up my entire bar, right? I can use Sky Shattering Blow into Moonflash Kick. That'll fill up my entire bar. I could use, Vicious Tiger Dance, Lightning,
and still fill it up.
Fill up the entire bar. So basically, how it works is you just want to use a small generator and a big generator, and then combine it. And even 3 hits of Storm Dragon Kick and a big, actually, that doesn't work. Scratch that. The Storm Dragon Kick doesn't work. That
one is really small.
Yeah. If you run a Wealth Rune, it does, but if you don't run a Wealth Rune, it doesn't. So you're going to want to use, again, your 2 generators, those 2 small generators,
and then any other big
Shattering
ones.
Blow, and Vicious Tiger Dance, and a big one, which is your Moonflash Kick, Lightning Whisper, and your Sweeping Kick. Though sometimes you might miss a generator,
right?
But you can always go back to your old faithful Sky Shattering Blow, 3 kicks of your Storm Dragon Kick, and then your Vicious Tiger Dance, and then that will also get your meter.
Okay, so
that used to be core part of the Striker rotation, but that's no longer used as a core part, but it still works in case you miss like some generators and you're like, oh shoot, I need bubbles, and then you just kind of go like this and then do this. But for the most part, your Storm Dragon Kick really is gonna be just a just there to keep up adrenaline and mobility. So you're just kind of using this for mobility and adrenaline stacks. But I would say, again, there's no real big rotation, just small generator, big generator, SO skill, right? But in general, I would say, of course, you always want to keep up Lightning Whisper.
Yeah.
And generally, I use Sweeping Kick as my first generator after Lightning Whisper because it does the most damage.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
So I just do this, right?
Right.
And then I do this into Sweeping Kick, into
okay.
Tiger Emerges, and then I do Moon Flash Kick into that.
Jesus Christ, bro. This rotation is crazy.
And then in terms of the cooldowns, you just wait a little bit, hit your last generator, and then T-skill. So that's kind of it. But again, everything's really flexible, right? For example, if like the boss is a little bit too far away, I do Moon Flash Kick into it and just use it as mobility, right? So I'll go again for my full rotation. Do this into Tiger Emerges. I use Moon Flash Kick into this Tiger Strike. This one, and then we wait for our generator to come back up. Lightning Whisper, Tiger Emerges. This Sweeping Kick.
Understand this skill. Okay, yeah.
So
you want to make sure you have the 4 before you do this skill.
Yeah.
The 4 bubbles on the side.
Yes, you always want to have your 4 bubbles before you use your T skill. You never want to use your T skill before you have 4 bubbles. There are times where you might mess it up, where like you're not thinking, right? Because you're just going off autopilot, and then you might accidentally use a random SO skill and use up your bubbles. If that's the case, you still don't want to use your T skill afterwards. You just wait until the next rotation to use your T skill. You always want to use your T skill with the bubbles because at 4 bubbles, because if you don't, the rotation just doesn't line up. So for example, if I use my T skill early like this, right?
Yeah.
Then the next time the bubbles are up, or next time the T skill's up, it's before the bubbles get full and maxed. So next time it'll be up will be like when you're at 3 bubbles. And even in this situation, even though your T skill is up, you wouldn't use it then. You would just wait for your full 4 bubbles, and then you would use your T skill.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah. So if you mess something up, doesn't matter. It doesn't change your philosophy.
Yeah.
Wait until the next time you have 4 bubbles, like the full 16, and then use your T skill.
So it's super efficient, like to stick with your rotation, guys. I do that with a lot of classes too. Like if I mess something up, I'm like, whatever, I catch up on the next rotation or something like that, because if not, then you mess it up even more, huh? Especially on Striker.
Wow. Yeah, you always want to cast T skill when it's at full 4 bubbles or 16 bubbles, whatever you want to call it.
And this is
very simple.
This is the main thing for Striker, bro. I cannot wait to have this shit. 2 skills and then rotate forever.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is typically you would ideally want to have at least your Sky Shattering Blow used right before your T skill, because Sky Shattering Blow at the end of the day does give you attack speed buff.
Right.
So if you can control it, just use Sky Shattering Blow as part of your last generator sequence before you pop T skill. So again, Sky Shattering Blow, then Moon Flash Kick, and T skill, so you have the faster charge. If you can line it up, of course, Sky Shattering Blow, Lightning Whisper would have the fastest charge, but it doesn't always line up that way.
Plus, you sometimes you want to hold that a little bit because you know the counter is coming. So, and that's your only counter, right?
Yeah, that's your only counter.
Yeah, bro. It's pretty straightforward, actually. I thought it would have been a little bit more complex, but it actually gets way better. 100% way better.
It's way better to use, way more comfortable. The old one is just very limiting and very, like, I don't know, clunky.
Yeah.
I would say in the past, SO Striker was a lot more flexible than Deathblow.
Right.
But I would say it's the opposite now, because SO in Tier 4 is basically the same thing as SO in Tier 3. It really hasn't changed too much. Like, SO in Tier 4 is just the same thing. because at the end of the day, yeah, your arc passive gives you attack speed, right? This little thing right here. Every time you use Esso's orb, it gives you attack speed. But these days, people run mass increase anyways, so basically the attack speed that it gives you is canceled out, and your rotation is completely the same. So tier 4 arc passive Esso Striker is just the same as tier 3, except you just have T skill now.
Diablo, qué poderoso.
Yeah, so if anybody's playing Striker, I would just recommend them play Deathblow these days.
Anybody has a question? Frelula main, well, he got his in his top 6. Anybody got a question for Striker, guys? That's actually pretty crazy, bro. So I see how it is, man. I love it even more now. I got the same build.
It's great.
Yeah. You know what he's talking about? Indeed, my lord. In other words, if you play ESO in tier 4, you might as well play in DPS support.
Yeah, you might as well just play Deathblow. It's way better. Like, some people like the SO playstyle. If that's the case, then sure, play it, right? But if you're asking like me about which striker is just better,
yeah,
I would say Deathblow is probably just better.
Well, it's kind of like the same thing with I guess I'm switching G Nation. G Nation I play ESO. No, it's the same thing with you know what happened with Striker, bro? The same thing that happened with Deathblade. Now a lot of people were playing Surge, but because Ari became just so insane, they are just like, fuck this shit. It's time to change, bro.
Yeah, I'd say it's, if you're still playing ESO, I mean, again, it's a playstyle thing, right? It's a different playstyle, but I would say if you want the more comfortable, the more fun, and just flexible build, go with Deathblow, because you have more mobility, you have, you know, a much more flexible playstyle, and also T skill's so cool. It's just such a cool skill.
Yeah, it is. I love that. Well, you used to play ESO before?
So I've played both.
Yeah.
Like, when I started playing Striker, I played Deathblow. This was back in like Clown days.
Damn.
And then ESO got buffed to be a lot stronger than Deathblow, and then I swapped over to ESO. And then before tier 4, I'd say ESO and Deathblow were pretty similar in damage. I'd say Deathblow is still kind of stronger, but Deathblow is a lot more limiting and a lot less flexible. It was a lot more clunky. So I ended up playing ESO a lot more then. And then after tier 4 came out, Deathblow just became better. So then I played Deathblow. Or not better per se. I still think ESO might do more damage than Deathblow. I'm not entirely sure. But it was a better playstyle.
Yeah, I love my Striker, but like you said, but it's so limited that, like, man, fuck, I can't wait to change, because I know I already can tell how big difference it is.
Like I said, I would say, even again, for arc passive, even if you don't have like the full setup right now, like, even if you're losing a little bit of damage, it's kind of worth just to play with it. Like, of course, if they need your damage to clear the content, sure, right? Stay tier 3. But like, if you just want to have a little bit more fun, I think like this build right here is like the minimum requirement to swap over and not lose too much damage. You still lose damage again, but you don't lose too much damage.
One more question, sorry. It's still a back attack?
Yeah, it's still back attack.
So what about, like, if you hit it in the front, you lose damage, right?
Of course. Yeah. But tier 4 changes so that it's not as punishing.
Right.
It's still rough.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the advantage on Deathblade, huh? Deathblade doesn't even matter. You can hit it in the front, and that's it.
Yeah, it's not like Deathblow, where it's not like ESO, or it's not Deathblow. So it's not like Deathblade, remaining energy, where you can just hit it from wherever.
Yeah, Deathblades are shitty, low key. That's true. They should do the same thing for Striker. Like, why not, bro?
If only.
No, for real, dude. Like, we just start protesting.
There's not enough of us out there to protest, unfortunately. It's not a very popular class. It's a very underplayed class, for sure.
Well, Their hardest hitting skill is a Hitmaster one. Which one?
Yeah. Which one's it?
Oh,
Wait,
oh,
sorry, say
yeah,
again?
yeah, yeah, yeah. The hardest hitting skill is Hitmaster.
Yeah, for Deathblades, yeah.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it is what it is, right? Well, Miso, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate
Yeah, no
you
problem, no problem.
being part of this project, you know?
Yeah, no, thanks for doing this. I'm sure the community appreciates it.
Yeah, they liking it. They liking it. We actually all learning a lot, bro. Like, okay, like big time.
That's good. That's good. I mean, again, I'm not like the best Deathblow striker. I'm not the best striker player out there, but you know, I've been playing this class for a while, so
Yeah,
at least in terms of knowledge, I'll probably have as good as any other player.
right.
But in terms of you know, technical ability, it's up for debate.
And me top 50, el Fredula. Well, much love, Papi, and enjoy the night. And you know, anything you actually wanna cook up, you can come with me, bro. And thank you again, brother.
For sure, no problem. You enjoy your stream, and you know, everybody in chat, have fun. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care, brother.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
Bye. Yeesh. There it is. There it is. I found that awesome. Well, that's another one. So that's gonna be like 12. So we need 14 more classes, guys. Yeah, that's going to be a long journey. It's gonna be a long journey. The generation is changing to Deathblade as we speak. The Deathblow, to Deathblow. Deathblow is actually pretty good, bro.